It's the first week of June, and we are talking about one of the greatest finals in NBA history. Hi, everyone, and thanks for listening to the Past Our Prime podcast, where we look back at sports from 50 years ago using old issues of Sports Illustrated as our guide. Three hosts each week: Bill Mahoney, Mark Hoffman, and me, Scott Johnston. And guys, on the cover this week, the 1976 Rookie of the Year in the NBA and the NBA Finals going up against the Celtics, Alvan Adams. You'll be joining us just a little bit to talk about his team, the Suns, taking on those nasty Celtics in the NBA Finals from 50 years ago. And Bill, Adams broke out as a rookie in a big way in Game 3.
Yes, he did. 33 points, 14 rebounds, and 2 assists. That guy averaged 23, 10, and 4 for the whole series. Alvan Adams, a really, really strong player, sort of lost in the shuffle of things in the NBA.
And I'm looking at the cover, and there's something about Alvin's face. There's something about his face. He reminds me of an actor and a character actor, and I cannot place it, but it's driving me crazy.
Lou Gossett Jr.?
Yes, that's it. Must be it.
That's Cicely Tyson.
Yes, Cicely Tyson. That's it.
We'll talk with Mr. Adams in just a bit, but first, the viewpoint, and it's an important one, I think, because a few weeks ago we had Michael McCambridge on, and he talked about how Sports Illustrated was looked down upon when it first began because Americans didn't think highly of sports and the people who love sports. They wouldn't have liked the three of us back in the day, that's for sure. But SI helped to change that, and so did Red Smith. The author in this article points out how, as a college student, he listed Red Smith, a syndicated sports columnist, among his favorite writers, prompting ridicule from the visiting professor. The piece argues that the Pulitzer Committee has long treated sports writing as second-class journalism, awarding it only rarely, despite sports coverage comprising a significant portion of most newspapers, while overlooking consistently excellent writers like Jim Murray and Dick Young. Hemingway called Red Smith the most important force in American sports writing. After the Tribune folded, he moved to the New York Times, earning the Pulitzer Prize for commentary in 1976. So one of the best to ever do it, Red Smith, here in Sports Illustrated. He would die a few years later in like 1982. I don't recall ever reading Red Smith, as a child, but certainly the name, and one of the first pioneers of sports journalism from back in the day. So one of the best to ever do it, Red Smith.
Old school tales, new school fire. The scorecard set, we'll take it higher.
Okay, the scorecard. I mentioned last week that Roberto Duran won a fight in Erie, Pennsylvania, of all places.
It's sort of odd for this story. The guy he's fighting is named Lou Bizarro.
That's
because
bizarro.
This whole story is a bit bizarro. The fight, which was scheduled for Sunday, couldn't happen because Pennsylvania had the old blue laws, which prohibited boxing on Sundays. So Duran and his group of people, they were waiting for a state commissioner to appear in order to sanction the fight and settle this detail. Well, the promoter of the fight, which is obviously, these promoters are always great, Lou Pareco, he stalled long enough to keep things moving, even using one of his Datsun salesmen, Bill Stafford, as a fake state commissioner to satisfy the Duran camp. Now, Bill Stafford, he went all out. He used to wear a toupee. He didn't in this one. He took the toupee off that he usually wore, used his outgoing personality and a little smattering of double talk, as it says in the article, and things carried out perfectly. However, the Duran side said, we knew it was Stafford the whole time. I doubt that. How would they even know him? But the promoter was happy. Bizarro was happy. That was until the 14th round when Duran knocked him out.
This Lou Pareco guy was a Datsun dealer, and somehow he got hooked up with this fighter, and he went to Don King and said, hey, I can get a fight here in Erie, Pennsylvania. So Don King said, sure, no problem. I don't care. And Don King, of course, always made money, but this Lou Pareco, he was about to lose his shirt when they said he couldn't have the fight on a Sunday. He ended up having the fight on the Sunday, but he still did not do very well. I don't think he lasted in the fight promotion business.
I would think when you're going up with a guy named Don King, there's
Yeah,
pretty good chance Don King's going to beat you
yeah,
Yep.
9 out of 10 times. But I'd love to see this Bill Stafford. What a great little gig for him.
yes.
Yeah. One guy I wouldn't want to fight is Tom King. He is a big dude. If you've never
I've
stood
seen him.
next
Yeah,
to,
he came into
yeah,
Channel 9 once years ago.
yeah, he is a big dude, man.
And the other thing is, this has sort of got a Rocky feel to it. Because let's say Bizarro caught Duran. And
Right.
you all know what happened after the fight, right?
Tell me.
Duran went up to Bizarro and said, there'll be no rematch. There'll be no rematch. Yeah,
Don't want one.
I don't want one. That's right. That's what. How did you know Bizarro said that? Oh, this is unbelievable.
Until 2 years later.
Mark, let's talk a little bit about football and Thanksgiving. I mean, it is early June.
Well, what's so interesting is that basketball, it started off with a basketball talk where, they're just really upset at CBS for, the times that they're televising the Suns and Celtics games, which really weren't convenient. But everything's dictated by television or whatever. But sometimes things get confused. Like Franklin Delano Roosevelt, our president, one time wanted to move Thanksgiving away from the last Thursday in November, and it freaked people out. But TV has no problem doing it. ABC is releasing their, college football schedule, and they say that Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Penn State, Pittsburgh games will both be televised on Thanksgiving, Friday, November 26th.
Hmm.
Well, I guess they moved Thanksgiving to Friday now.
Yeah.
That's it. That would really suck because the beauty of Thanksgiving is that you get Thursday off, but also Friday. Nobody works that Friday in between the weekend. So you get a 4-day weekend. That's the whole beauty. If you move Thanksgiving to a Friday, it ruins it all,
I
It's a
think
3-day weekend.
I think the three of us worked plenty of those Fridays.
Yes.
They did because they would feed us a lot of times. They'd have like a whole turkey dinner,
Yeah.
But I remember Oklahoma, Nebraska would always be the Friday after Thanksgiving. That's when they had the game of the century in 1971. Johnny Rodgers leading Nebraska to that 35-31 win.
They said it, Billy. J.C. Sneed.
He says, J.C. Sneed says, the gallery noise he hates most. Someone who jingles coins in his pocket. It sounds like the checkout counter at the Piggly Wiggly.
I'm guilty of that.
What about
know.
pocket
We know that.
pool?
Yeah, I remember that one. No one says that anymore.
No.
Yeah.
What about people eating oatmeal during the middle of podcasts?
Yes.
Yep.
Jerome Whitehead, Marquette basketball player, after a tour of Rio de Janeiro, said it's an unbelievable situation when 25,000 people are booing you and throwing cups and garbage at you. It's like the whole country was Notre Dame. So not being welcomed, the Marquette basketball team down in Brazil. Speaking of Notre Dame, Mark.
Yes, future Notre Dame head coach Lou Holtz is here. He recently was hired by the New York Jets to be their head coach. He says, "We're building a house on Long Island." Yeah, that's pretty optimistic. It's a little like doing a crossword puzzle with a pen. Well, I can relate to that because I only do crossword puzzles with a pen. So
That
watch
says a
out. It does. I'm a dangerous person.
He was
smart person by doing it.
He was right. He went 3-10 that year with the Jets, and it would be his only season in the NFL before he went back to college. I think he went to Arkansas after that. A slick way to win the 500. Johnny Rutherford won his second Indy 500 in the shortest race ever. Bill, this was just a weird run from start to finish.
Yeah, Johnny Rutherford took the lead back in 80, but rain was there and they stopped the race. I never really knew that they would stop a race, but they called it after 102 laps. And Mark made a point of this a week ago that Johnny Rutherford was the winner, but he actually walked across the finish line.
Yeah, just that's just so bizarre.
It's just that's the best they could come up with. What if AJ Foyt got out and outran him? Let's say AJ Foyt was a sprinter. Does he win?
Right? Right.
I mean, isn't that like they do that in
Dave Johnson
Talladega
says,
Nights?
Dave Johnson says, and down the stretch they come, and you got these two old dudes running, and like 3.5 minutes later they get
exactly. One of them dies. I mean, and do they have to wear their uniform? Because you can't run naked. So, I mean, what do you do?
AJ Foyt was not happy about this race. He would was go what was he going for? His fourth Indy 500?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
That wouldn't come until next
Next
year.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
So
the crazy thing about this, we interviewed Johnny Rutherford, and I don't think we asked him this question.
no, we did not ask about
That's the
this.
thing. You start reading more of these magazines, and when you want to go back and go, that's what we should have talked to him about.
Yeah. Yep. This is his second win. He would win a third time in 1980.
Yeah, 1980.
One of the all-time greats to do it, Johnny Rutherford. Yeah, we had him on 2 years ago after his first win in '74. One of our best interviews of our first year. Suns worship back in fashion, down 2-0 and looking dead in the water. The Suns come home to a welcome that looked more like a funeral, but they responded by beating the Celtics 105-98 in a Sunday morning game. Suddenly makes the Celtics look beatable, and they did it thanks to the guy on the cover, Alvan Adams, with a huge game 3. Rookie center was the star of the game, 33 points, 14 rebounds, putting on a dazzling fourth quarter display that he just kind of dominated all in the span of about 100 seconds, where he scored a couple baskets, went length of the floor. He was one of the first big guys that would dribble. When we grew up, you never saw Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Wilt or Walton. Those guys never handled the ball.
When if they did, there was a standing ovation. It was like at the end of a game.
Right.
Like, oh my God. It was like a you see an eclipse.
It was a tough rookie season for Adams, especially a 3-week span at one point, Bill. He really went through the ringer.
Yeah, he got knocked around by, was it Spencer Haywood? I think he took it in the face. Then going for a layup, he got, what is it, Jeff Rulin? He hit him so hard his bottom teeth went through his lip. And then the next, like a week later against Gervin, he's going in for a layup, and Gervin blackens his eye and knocks him to the ground. I think he did something to his jaw. And then just a little bit after that, he gets in a tussle with Jeff Rulin. Wasn't that McNasty? And Jeff Rulin, going for a rebound, picks up Adams, throws him to the ground, and then to make matters worse, he slugs him in the face.
Oh.
So that's like in a 3-week span. I don't know why everyone wanted to go after Alvan Adams.
Well, he was putting up 33 and 14. That'll do it.
There you go.
Sometimes. Despite the game 3 loss, Boston wasn't panicking. Dave Cowens shrugged it off with a smirk, saying, "We're still 2-1. We'll get her." So game 4 was a big one, Mark. And how did that one turn out?
Well, they even up the series, the Suns, and which would set up then the most dramatic of game 5s in the history of the NBA playoffs. And past our prime has been so connected with the series because we had Gar Heard on the show when he was a Buffalo Brave, but as a Phoenix Sun, he hit that incredible shot that forced a third overtime in that game 5. So this was a fantastic series. And the fact that the Suns were like left for dead after losing the first 2 games to come back and even the series and really had a chance to win that game 5. I mean, this series, even though the Celtics would eventually win it, could have gone either way. But what I love about the Suns and about Alvan Adams, even though he's a rookie, he didn't take this like, oh my God, this is too much for me in the center stage. He just said that there's only one difference he noticed about the playoffs, that they just make the season longer. So he had a really good attitude, and that's why he played so well.
Truly was a great series.
On the cover of the June 7th, 1976 issue of Sports Illustrated is our guest today, a rookie center helping lead the upstart Phoenix Suns on one of the most surprising playoff runs in NBA history. An all-star and rookie of the year in his very first season, he helped push the mighty Boston Celtics to that legendary triple overtime finals classic. We're thrilled to welcome Suns great Alvan Adams to the Past Our Prime podcast. Hey, Alvan, thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
You bet. Thanks for calling me. It'd be fun to talk about that year.
Hey, Alvan, yeah, that year when you were 21 years old. My goodness, seems like yesterday, I'm sure. And just after defeating the defending champion Warriors, you're on the center stage going up against the Celtics. In fact, you're on the cover of SI with Dave Cowens. What was it like to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a 21-year-old?
Well, that was a fun surprise because when I was in high school and college, there was not a lot of TV coverage of sports. There was a wide world of sports with that guy falling off the ski jump, and got to see the Olympics, got to see some Wilt and Bill Russell battles in the playoffs. But the couple publications that were out there, including most importantly Sports Illustrated, where a lot of aspiring young wannabe athletes got a lot of their news. So that's iconic to here's the new issue, who's on it, and surprise, surprise. I don't remember anybody alerting me ahead of time, hey, you're going to be on next week's cover. All of a sudden it's there. That was a lot of fun, but we had more important things to do than to read magazines at that point in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you come home in that series down 2-0, and according to everyone, this thing's over. You know, the Suns, who were barely 500 in the regular season, going up against those vaunted Celtics. But then in game 3, you go off. I think you had 33 points and 14 rebounds. You guys win game 3. What was that like to play that well in such a big moment?
Well, backing up, you said we were down 0-2. I felt like we were down 0-6 or whatever it was. I think we played them 4 times during the regular season. We hadn't beaten them. They were the vaunted, Celtics. At least Bill Russell and Cousy weren't on the team, but we had plenty of other people to battle against, especially for me, Cowens. I was a small center. I was a small quick center. He was a small center also. And I knew I had to not neutralize him, but I couldn't let him run roughshod over me. I'm the rookie. He's been in the league. He's an NBA champion already, and I knew what it was like to play against him. He was almost as quick as me. He was much stronger than me. He's more experienced, and luckily we had Paul Westphal on our team. My roomie and favorite teammate of all time. So he told us a lot of little tricks each time we played the Celtics during the season and the playoffs. He'd say, watch out for this flop here or this. And I knew getting hit in the back of the neck and the back of the shoulders was something Dave Cowens was really good at, as he charged in for offensive rebounds. So I knew I had to hold my ground as best I could. And yet, even though we were down 0-6 or 0-2 in the playoffs, yes, at that point in the season, we were so confident. We were in such sync. Our coaches knew what to cover in practice. They knew the adjustments to make. And we were confident we could win any game. I think with those first 2 games, we were down in both games by 20 points at some point in the game. I don't think they were 20-point losses, but we didn't come back thinking, oh, this is going to be over. We came back thinking we played really well at home. We had I think we had 12 or 15 wins in a row at home to close the regular season. So we were ready to go. There were some strange tip-off times, 10 or 11 a.m. on Sunday mornings, but as long as I got a good pregame meal, whether it was at 8 a.m. or 3 p.m. in the afternoon, I was good to go.
How important was it to have that series against the Warriors to set you up to face the Celtics? Because it was one tough challenge against another. And had you had to face the Celtics without that earlier tough challenge, might have been, I don't know, it would have been more difficult a series with the Celtics?
Well, good point. We certainly built on the outstanding play we had in some of those games late in the season, even against Seattle, but especially against the Warriors. And we had that double overtime game where Keith Erickson hit some big shots. Dick Van was back in the fold with us because he missed the last third of the season, but that gave Ricky Sobers the chance. So every win we had, and we certainly, you always learn from your losses too. And each one of those 3 teams we played, Seattle, the Warriors, and the Celtics, were different styles. But we kept building on it until the end finally came in Game 6.
Yes, I mean there was the double overtime game you were talking about against the Warriors, and then there was the game that you guys were down by one late, and I believe you hit the go-ahead basket, and then Garherd had the big block, if I remember correctly.
Right, right. That was game 6 at home. Yeah, Keith hit me for a basket underneath, and Gar blocked the shot. I remember right in front of our bench. Jamal Keith. I remember which name it went by then, but he just had time to get the ball and shoot it. He couldn't fake or and Gar went up and timed it just right. So sent us there onto that 7th game, and we were clicking a little better than they were clicking in game 7.
You just mentioned him just a little bit. Mark mentioned him as well. How important was the acquisition of Gar Heard for the team?
Gosh, it was. We started the season with Mike Bannum, I think a 3-year vet, and John Shoemate, who anybody who watched back then, he was famous for getting that last rebound and breaking UCLA's 88-game college winning streak, and then he had to sit out that first year with his medical problems, and he was playing really well for us, very popular player, and what all went into that decision. That must have been a tough one, to trade a very talented rookie for a steady, rock solid veteran. But John coached him in Oklahoma also. John McLeod coached him and coached me, and so he knew something about Gar's abilities, and when you get two people thinking like that, a coach and player that played together before, that seemed to be really important to us. And I know we went on a very hot streak. We started the season well. We had a long lull there, 2 months in the middle where, I don't know, we were discovering ourselves or whatever. And we got Gar that really steadied things. It gave us a very interesting front line, a very undersized yet quick center. And then I had the two guys in Curtis and Gar on either side, and that was a successful front line.
Yeah, and you sort of just mentioned it. All of a sudden at the end of the season, what are you? I think you're like 32-36. You win 10 of your final 14 games. You finish 42-40 that you look at it and you go, oh, that's not that great. But you guys seem to find yourself. What was it that you found at the end of the season to get you going for the playoffs?
Yeah, we were only 17 games behind the Warriors when the season was over. Incredible. They were 16 ahead of the Sonics. We were only a game behind the Sonics. Looking back, I kind of divide my career, my 13-year career, into thirds. About a third of the seasons, we exceeded expectations. About a third of the years, we did not meet our expectations. And about a third of the years, we got beat by Magic Johnson and the Lakers in the playoffs. And I look back, I go, okay, what was so special about that first year? Well, I was just checking the lineup the other day. There were only, by the time we got to the playoffs, and back then you only had 12 players. There was no G League, no two-way players. Only 5 of the players on that 12-man roster going into the playoffs were on the Suns the year before. Okay, so 7 guys were new, a couple rookies, Ricky and myself, Ricky Sobers, and myself, and the other guys, Phil Lumpkin, Pat Riley, John, and the other guys, Paul Westphal, for the Charlie Scott in that trade. It was the closest team I ever played on. It was the most married team I ever played on. As couples, we did things. We played softball. We went to lunch here. We went to brunch there. And that had to do, maybe that was partly because more than half the team was new to town, and what else is there we don't know anybody. It was just the closest team, and the combination of John McLeod's toughness, determination, preparedness, thoroughness, and Al Bianchi's fiery attitude. He joined us, I want to say, around Christmas. It was just a great combination all the way around, and adding Gar, that was the third thing. I think a couple good rookies, Al Bianchi and Gar Heard, just had us, give us a month and a half and we should be pretty good, and we were.
So you come home, we mentioned you had that huge game 3 to get back in the series, but you got to take care of business in game 4. You do. I think it's a close one. I think you win by 2 points. Now the series is tied heading back to Boston. and what some say the greatest game in NBA history takes place. Game 5 at the Garden. Alvin, there's almost too much stuff to talk about as to how that game finished. But do your best to take us through, some of the craziness and the zaniness of that triple overtime game against the Celtics.
Well, I'll start by saying I love going to the two gardens just because of the history. Madison Square Garden and the Boston Garden. I got to see a lot of games growing up, those 6 or 7 years before I went to the Suns, watching Wilt and Bill and, Wilt's in Philly or whatever. But I just like the history there. I thought the fans were knowledgeable and they got more imbibed as the game went on, that particular game. But I think we didn't go back overconfident. We weren't scared. We were just prepared. All right, it's game 5. And by the very end of the game, I had the best seat in the house for the 3 overtimes because I was really close to the floor, like right next to the coaches, because I fouled out right at the end of regulation. Foul on Havlicek, probably a bad call, but I don't know. He probably flopped. I'm sure Paul told the refs he flopped. And anyway, so I got to watch all of that, and I was just thinking about today. I have a CD of each one of those games. I really got to go back there. I kind of remember what happened. A Westfall steal here, a Curtis Perry shot. He missed it, got the rebound, put it back in. Havlicek's leaner at the end of the 1 overtime. People fouling left and right. Charlie Scott, Cowens, me, Autry. I don't remember, 7 different people fouled out. Game went past midnight, but it was one of the reasons it was such a great game was there were such great plays. It wasn't like, oh, he missed 2 free throws. Oh, he threw it away. Oh, they fumbled it. Oh, it was a bad call. It was just one incredible play after another. And I've heard Al McCoy, the longtime voice of the Suns, talk about the crazy fans falling on him, passing out. And I remember reading that Tommy Heinsohn fell down from exhaustion after the game. And I just remember the excitement on Gar's shot. And I've seen the video enough times just of the shot of how Paul Silas just kind of turns around and walks back to his bench like, we got to play some more. You get to play some more. And I remember the discussions between Paul Westphal and the coaches about something about a timeout. Let's call a timeout. I didn't know the rule. Paul knew every rule in the NBA book, and he knew all the rules in backgammon, monopoly, how to triple mortgage a property, and backgammon. He knew all the rules. And I saw him over there in this deep conversation, and all of a sudden there's a timeout. And the referee goes, well, you want a timeout? Well, that's a technical, you can't, yeah, we know that. And so just one great, not necessarily play, but decision and play after another.
Yeah, if I get this wrong, correct me, but you guys are, I think, down 1 and you have no timeouts left. So you guys call a timeout on purpose, knowing that they'll get a free throw, but that you can advance the ball to half court. And so that's what you did. And that worked perfectly. You fall behind by 2, but you hit that shot. But also in that game, wasn't there a time where like the game was over and they had to put time back on the clock, but the fans all rushed the court, and Rick Barry famously is an announcer saying, no, there should be 2 seconds left. There should be 2 seconds left. And that came into play as well.
Well, you're playing in the Garden where Red Auerbach liked to turn the heat up in the visitors' locker room. So you're sitting in the locker room just melting like, yeah, let's go beat the Celtics tonight. And so you don't figure you're going to get anything that's going to go your way. I'm surprised we even got a second back at that point. But we did get a second. Then I was even further surprised. You figure, the timer sometimes back then, it was the timer just pushing a button where it was his hand. You would have thought as soon as that ball hit Gar's hand on the pass in from Curtis, that buzzer would have gone off immediately, because today you have tenths of a second. So when you see 1 back then, is it 1.9 or is it 0.1? And anyway, he had enough time to turn around. And when the crowd rushed the floor was when Havlicek, I believe, hit the shot to tie it or to go ahead by one. And yeah, they rushed it and they attacked Richie Powers. And I didn't really see that. I heard about it later and saw it video and how Curtis Perry was pulling people off of Richie Powers. And figured Richie would give him a good call after that or something, I guess. So yeah, I'm not sure anybody can relate it, but I thought with the grandkids, I got to put that tape in and watch that whole game. Would be really fun to watch.
I remember watching that game on CBS as it was happening back in '76, and just the ebbs and flows were just, I mean, it was just, I've never seen anything like it. And people remember that second overtime. People don't even remember that you lost in the third overtime. All they can talk about is all the drama that happened at the last second of the second overtime. I mean, is that, even though it wasn't a win for you, is that sort of a memory that has to be with you for all time?
Well, every once in a while, I'll have a friend call me from Oklahoma, where I grew up, or somewhere back east, and they go, "Hey, we're watching on NBA TV. They're running that Game 5 of your '76 rookie season against the Celtics." And I say, "Call me back if we win." so, so it was a highlight. That's my first year in college. We never even went to the playoffs. We didn't go to the NCAA because back then you only were a conference winner. We never even made it to the NIT in my 3 years. And I had a good friend of mine from high school that went to Harvard. And I said, maybe we'll make it to NIT. You can come down and watch us play at the Garden. Maybe we'll make it this year. We never made it my 3 years, but because I left a year early, our senior year in college, his senior year at Harvard, my senior year was not at OU. It was my first year at Phoenix. I said, he's right there in Boston, so he got to see me play there. So that was a fun twist on that. But so yeah, great memories. And then that summer, and my wife reminded me that she goes, that was the bicentennial year, the 2nd anniversary, because that year, we were riding high after that. Yes, our fans had gone crazy for basketball. We were the only major major league sports team in town at that time. We were the darlings of town. We'd done all these incredible things with all these new players. And then I found out there was an NBA players trip every summer. The Westfalls were telling us about some Ericssons, and we go, "What's that?" "Well, every summer the NBA Players Union has a trip somewhere, and this year it's to Monte Carlo." We go, "Well, let's go on that." So there was just more celebrating there, and then Paul introduced us to these guys, Havlicek and his wife, and I think Nelson and his wife were there. So just all regular folks, good guys, great basketball players, and great competitors. And Sarah reminded me, we got to go out. What was the name of the ship, Sarah, the aircraft carrier? The USS Independence aircraft carrier was in the harbor there in Monte Carlo, and they invited all the NBA players out there. And we went out there and got to tour this aircraft carrier. And on one of the TVs in the mess hall or whatever was Game 5 being played again.
No.
I think it was early in the
You were
game.
there.
I go, yeah, I think I can't remember who won that. It was only a month before, but
So that first year in the league, okay, you get drafted 4th overall out of Oklahoma. And then that first year, your first taste of the NBA, you win Rookie of the Year, you go to the NBA Finals, you're involved in so many dramatic moments. I mean, we were talking earlier about that 1-point win over Golden State in Game 6. You don't hit that shot, you don't get to face the Celtics. You're eliminated. That would have been an elimination game for you guys. So just talk about all that emotion you went through your rookie year, and then to win it. And of course, the joke comment that we talked about, where people asked you what it was like to win Rookie of the Year, and you made a joke about David Thompson.
yeah. So my wife was asking me about that today. She goes, "Did you practice that? I mean, I didn't know you were going to say that." I go, "I don't really remember when I thought of that. It wasn't spur of the moment. Was it the morning I woke up? Was it the day they told me that I'd won Rookie of the Year?" Because I had played with David Thompson overseas during college and knew what kind of player he was. And I thought, if he was in the NBA, I think he would have won it. I don't care if his team didn't make the playoffs, but I really liked him. I just thought that'd be kind of fun to say that. Sometimes people ask a rookie that has a great year, boy, was that a surprise to you? And I would think most of us would say no, because the college and high school teams that we came from, we were kind of the main player, weren't we? We were one of the leading scorers, if not the leading scorer. We were the All-American, we were the All-Conference, whatever. So we were used to getting the ball and playing big minutes. And for Ricky Sobers and myself, we got the chance to play a lot of important minutes and meshed with the veterans to propel us to that season. I remember thinking at the end of the season, I felt really the only thing I felt bad about was, yeah, we didn't win the championship. We did get beat by a really good team in the Celtics, but I felt bad for the veterans on our team because I knew that Dick Van Arsdale and Keith Erickson and Pat Riley didn't have a whole lot more years left to play. Maybe one or two, because guys only played till their mid-30s back then. I remember feeling bad for them. I go, I've got 4 more chances to get back because I have a 5-year contract. These guys may only have 1 or 2 more chances, and I felt bad that we didn't do it for them. And then after my 13 years, I only got there once. So it was a special year for us, and it really was a springboard for big time sports in Arizona. And wasn't it fun to be part of that with a basketball team in the National Basketball Association? Because pretty soon Jerry Colangelo brings baseball to town. He helps lure NHL there. We won't talk about that. They're gone now, but so now we've got it all, I guess, except NHL.
Yeah.
Here's the quote that what Mark was saying. You said we were just reading one of the Sports Illustrated. It says, "This is what you said. I'd like to thank Coach John McLeod, my teammates for making me look so good, and mostly David Thompson for going to the ABA." Do you remember that?
Oh yeah,
I talked about
that. And I never heard anything from David after that, but I didn't. It didn't get him anything, but one of the fun things about getting named Rookie of the Year was, I believe this company called me the summer after that season and said, we'd like you to be part of our team. My lawyer sent me the letter and he said, hey, this shoe company wants to pay you to wear their shoes. I go, pay to wear shoes? What? Pay? I mean, my rookie year, I just asked the trainer, Joe Prosky, what shoes do you have there? And so I said, well, we got these Converse or Adidas. Which ones do you want? I'll take those Converse. I like the star on it. And I wore Converse most of that first year. But anyway, my lawyer sent me this letter. It was from a company called Blue Ribbon Sports. And something Nike. My wife and I were reading it, going, "Is this Nike? Nike?" I said, "Well, send me a pair of your shoes." And they sent me a pair of shoes. I go, "Yeah, they fit. Yeah, I'll join you." And so I was on that first. They had already picked 9 veterans, and I think they go, "Well, let's look at the Rookie of the Year." And so I was on that first group of 10 that was the first Nike Pro Club group, they called it. So that was kind of fun.
Wow. Now going back to the finals, I know this is very hypothetical. The 3 overtime game you lose, that puts Boston up 3-2. If you guys would have found a way to win that game, do you think you go back and wrap it up in Arizona?
I wouldn't be that cocky to have said yes then. I'm not going to be that cocky now to say, yeah, we would have won. We had all the confidence in the world that we could win any game we went into. I would have liked our chances. I'd rather been up 3-2 than down to 3-2. I remember it being kind of a tiring, slow game. What do I mean by tiring? It just didn't seem high energy from either team. And I don't remember what the key plays were, but in the end, I think we all sat down, and it seemed like everybody, the fans, the Celtics even, and even us going, wow, that was tiring. And we thought we'd be on to bigger and greater things next year, the following year.
I was going to say, you led the team to the playoffs, I believe, 8 more years. In your whole career, And I remember Dan Fouts said this about the Chargers. How disappointed were you that you weren't able to get a championship back to Phoenix?
Um, well, the first thing I said was I felt bad that particular year for the veterans. I go, I'm going to have 4 more chances. I had 12 more chances. Once Magic got to the Lakers, and they still had Kareem, and then they got all the other pieces, Scott, Worthy, Rambus, AC. I go, wow, my internal goal kind of changed from getting to the NBA Finals to at least trying to get to the Western Conference Finals and see what we could possibly do against a pretty dominating 1980s Lakers team. So by the end, like I said, I think 3/3 of my career we exceeded expectations. A third we kind of met them, and a third we were below. And that first year, people go, "What was your favorite memory? Your favorite moment in the NBA?" It was winning Game 7 in Oakland against the Warriors. And I remember some of it. I remember who was sitting there. I remember the flight back, getting back to Sky Harbor Airport, and the whole terminal was filled with, I don't know, 5,000, 50,000, whatever it was, fans at whatever time it was, 10 or 11 in the evening. So that was the highlight. It was the first year, but it was a special group because we were so close.
Rookie cards of baseball, basketball, and football stars are iconic pieces of American history, and they have been outstanding investments over the last 50 years. Now, key issues of Sports Illustrated, professionally graded and encapsulated by CGC, have emerged as an exciting alternative to trading cards. ThePit.com is the leading online exchange for investment-grade sports magazines. General Manager Mark Humphreys offers Sports Illustrated first cover editions featuring stars like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Derek Jeter, Ken Griffey Jr., and so many more. Joining us now is the CEO of ThePit.com, Mark Humphreys, an expert in the field of collectibles. And Mark, we start off this month with Alvan Adams boxing out Dave Cowens on the cover of SI, June 7th, 1976.
Yeah, this is what I would call a moderately collectible issue. It's collectible two ways, really. As part of the series of the long success of the Boston Celtics, they ended up winning their 13th title in 1976. And this cover, center stage in the NBA, was midway through that series. The Celtics took the first 2, the Suns the next 2. Game 5 is considered one of the greatest games ever played, went 3 overtimes. And this was Dave Cowens' his second of 3 covers on Sports Illustrated. He was on the cover way back in 1972, battling Walt Frazier of the Knicks. And of course, Cowens was an outstanding player, an undersized but very aggressive center. And this was the second of 2 championships he'd win with the Celtics. He was also most valuable player of the league before either of those championships in 73. He's a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame. However, I think most would agree he's not on the level of a Bill Russell or a Larry Bird. You can put him in the Paul Pierce class, maybe. And therefore, there is interest in his covers, but not enormous interest. And more likely than not, collectors will, rather than seeking graded, encapsulated copies, which we always talk about, they'd be interested in getting Cowens' autograph on a cover. And when I looked at eBay, there were a couple available, including one in nice condition at $240. That was a newsstand copy. The newsstand copies are always worth more. Now, there have been 3 copies of this issue graded by CGC. The well-established grading company. And the highest of those was a 9.0, which is a high grade for a 76. And it actually sold for $200 a couple years ago. Fans of the Phoenix Suns will also be interested in this issue because Alvan Adams was a very good player over a long period of time and is still the Suns record holder in games and rebounds. This cover actually features Adams more than Cowens. Adams is in the front, Cowens is in the back. It makes a better autograph piece for Alvan Adams than for Dave Cowens, frankly. And these issues are available in autographed form on eBay. I saw one subscription issue, not as desirable, but still for $80 or best offer.
Only thepit.com offers competitive buy now and sell now quotes on graded magazines online, as well as many of the most popular modern PSA graded rookie cards, including Shohei Ohtani, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Nikola Jokic, and Steph Curry. Trade sports stars like stocks at thepit.com. A great memory, no doubt, for Alvan Adams, the 1976 Rookie of the Year for the Phoenix Suns, one of the all-time great Phoenix Suns players. Alvan, you were reunited with your college coach, John McLeod, in Phoenix. How much did that relationship help you make the transition to the pros so smoothly, and what kind of impact did John have on your life?
Yeah, well, he started recruiting me when I was in ninth grade. I guess, so I remember the story. I don't remember the exact meeting, but it was a YMCA game in the summer between my ninth and 10th, my freshman and sophomore years. And he started recruiting me after that. And that was back in the days when you could take all the official visits you wanted, all the paid visits you wanted to colleges. That's one of the great rules in the NCAAs now is you can only take 5. Because back then, I think I took 15. You just get more confused and more confused, but all the way along. So I knew John from day one of recruiting all the way until I committed to go there and play for him. And just his integrity, his intensity, and it was close to home. My mother had passed away when I was a senior in high school, so I had a little sister. My dad were in Oklahoma City, 30, 40 miles away. So staying home made sense for a lot of reasons, but John was reason number one. I really think it was. I said, boy, I'd like to play for this guy. He said, we're going to be great for years. And then he left after my freshman year, and I kind of went, but you can't fault him. He took a big step up to the NBA. And I don't remember thinking then that someday maybe I can play for him. I never thought about playing in the NBA until after my freshman year when the Utah Stars drafted me in some special underclassmen dispersal draft. I go, what? Play basketball for money? I don't know. Anyway, so, but then when they asked me to come out, when the Suns asked me to come out after my junior year, they asked me after my sophomore year, they said, might you be interested? I go, no. I have a good team coming back. No, I like college. No, thanks. After my junior year, they asked me, and I thought, we just lost to UCLA in the middle of that season to by 55 points. Maybe it was only 45. I don't know, 50 or so. I didn't see a great team coming back. And Sarah and I planned on getting married between our junior and senior years. I'm going to be married. I get to go to Phoenix. Never been there. It sounds warm. It sounds nice. It's not cold. And number one, again, the chance to break into the best league in the world with a head coach who knows me and I know him. That sounds ideal. Yes, I want to leave early this year. And the only thing you had to watch out for that point is there any nepotism or people going to say, hey, why are you treating him this way? Why didn't you find him for that? How come he's not running with the John, it was a class act, gentleman, knew the way to handle people. He said, hey, I won't ever embarrass you on the court. Don't you embarrass me. Like, come over and kick the water cooler to everybody, not just me. He goes, I'm not going to grab you by the collar. And he was a gentleman coach, knowledgeable. And of course, the game is different today. People ask me, what's different about the game today? I said, well, the best shot when we played was to get the ball in close. So I would stay at the free throw line because I was a little guy, and we'd send Paul Westphal in close because he was ambidextrous and a big guard. And today, of course, the game is quite different. The best shot's the farthest shot. But breaking in with John, I would do that all over.
Alvin, one of the reasons maybe you decided not to go to the ABA so early is you were an academic All-American, and weren't you at one point that the plan was to be a doctor?
Well, I was pre-med, but there was no pre-med degree at OU. You only took the courses required to take the MCATs, and so I took all the requirements except for one chemistry course. I was going to take that my senior year, so I thought I wanted to be a doctor. I thought that'd be interesting. I worked in a hospital one summer in college, and that was just something I thought I would do. There was no burning desire for it, but thought that would be interesting. And academic All-American, okay. My mom was a teacher, and my parents stressed academics, and I always liked school, always went to class. I don't know if I always went to class, but I always tried to go to class. And school meant a lot to me, and learning and the curiosity of learning things. So but I always wanted to be an architect when I grew up. We lived in a new neighborhood, houses going up. And when I applied to OU, they go, oh, you can't be an architect major because they've got all these evening labs starting your sophomore year. And you're going on road trips just won't work out. So when I got to Phoenix, I started taking all the pre-architectural courses at both Arizona State University and Phoenix College. So I got all those out of my way. And when I retired from playing, I thought I'd go study architecture, but that was the year Jerry Colangelo bought the team. And one of the first things he wanted to do, other than to get me to retire, that's a joke, was to build a new home for the Phoenix Suns. And I said, Jerry, can I be part? That was the summer after I retired. Jerry bought it during my last year. And that summer, I was talking to the longtime Suns business manager. I go, can I be part of that project? And then Jerry and Bob said, come on. So I joined the design and development team for the arena. Once it opened, I said, okay, now I'm going to go study architecture. Oh, you can't leave. And so I stayed with the Suns and just retired last April after 50 years. And the last 37 years was in facility design, construction, and management.
Alvin, you were just talking a couple minutes ago about UCLA, how you lost to them. Now you get in the NBA. The first game of your career is against the Trailblazers and their big center, UCLA's Bill Walton. What was it like playing against him fresh out of college, first NBA game?
Well, let me back up even before that. My first NBA game was the preseason game against the Lakers, and they just had a new center, joined their team that year.
Another guy from UCLA.
Another guy,
pretty good guy.
And it wasn't Swen Nader. It was Kareem, and that's the reason I chose 33. When I was in junior high, the first year I was on a team in 8th grade, they go, what number you want to be? Well, I've read about this Lou Alcindor guy. I want to be 33. Well, we only go to 15. But by the time I got to high school, the numbers went all the way up to 50. So I got to be 33. So my very first game, I get to go against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at the University of California, Santa Barbara gym, because they had a rookie named Don Ford. They try to play at rookies' home gyms. And Kareem didn't play in that game, but he played in the next game in Bakersfield. But so going up, my first game ever in the NBA was the first live NBA game I ever saw. It was supposed to be against Kareem. It wasn't. My first regular season game was against Bill Walton. And I've told many people, they say, well, who's the best player you ever played against? People usually go, who's the toughest player? And I go, you mean like if I hit him in the face with a tennis racket, who would flinch the least? No. Who's the toughest guy to stop? I go, well, Kareem. Kareem was the toughest. He had the sky hook, and if you overplayed him too much, he had the drop step back with his, and he was the toughest to stop. But when the 19 games in Bill Walton's career that he was healthy, he was really good. Defensively, rebounding, passing. He wasn't a good shooter. He put the ball too much in front like this, but he was as good as they come when he was healthy, and it was too bad that he wasn't healthy more. And I don't remember that particular game, but I bumped into him, and you remember him, his language when he was announcing all that superlative. Alvan Adams, the most gladiatorial of all the combatants I ever faced on the field of Thermopylae, and after I defeated the 300 Spartans, Alvin was next in line. So he was always very complimentary, but he was tough and great. He wasn't on the UCLA team that played. I was the center I played against in college was Ralph Drollinger. But anyway, a lot of great NBA players there. They all seemed difficult to me, but when I talked to them, they go, "Boy, we hated guarding you because you ran up and down the court and kept us moving." So we all played our strengths.
Yeah, but I was looking it up. Don't sell yourself short. You played Kareem 60 times, and you actually got the better of him a number of times. I think one of your first games, it was like 38, 12, and 8. What was it about Kareem, minus the skyhook, that was so difficult to prepare for?
He could do it all. He was skilled in all parts of the game. No, he didn't bring the ball up the court. Big guys weren't allowed to dribble back then, not 7'2" Kareems, not 6'9" Alvins. We were supposed to get the rebound, hit the outlet, fill the lanes, and run. But everything else, he could pass, he could great vision, he could rebound, he could block shots. Didn't he lead the league in block shots a couple of years? I don't know that he won Defensive Player of the Year. Maybe he did. He could do it all. He was just highly skilled. And I remember seeing him once with my kids at one of the All-Star games, and I went over and Kareem, he goes, "Alvin, good to see you." Because back then we didn't hug after games like they do now. We didn't go over and whisper things in the opponent's ear after a game, and we just shook hands before the game, and that was it. But I went, "Alvin, good to see you. This is my son, Justin, my daughter, Emily." And before I could say anything else, he looked at them and he said, "Oh, did I hate to guard your daddy?" And he goes, "Yeah, in pregame, Pat Riles would be talking to us, 'Magic, keep pushing the ball. James, run the wing. Kareem, don't let Alvin beat you down the court time after time for dunks." And Kareem goes, I'm sitting there going, "I can't keep Alvin from running down the court. He's faster than me." And of course, my coach is saying, "What? John McLeod's telling me, Alvin, don't let Kareem shoot his sky hook." And I'm like, how am I going to prevent that? So did I get up more for Kareem than any other player? No. Kareem was as dominant as they came. Was he left-handed like Bob Lanier with all these quick little moves? And we know he's left-handed. Was he as I mean, Wes Unseld gave me more trouble than anybody just because I couldn't see around him. It was like, and he was the shortest center in the league. He was only 6'8", so they all gave me trouble, but apparently I gave all of them trouble too.
Wow. I was looking at some of your stats, which was just amazing. I remember your second year in the league, you had a game, and we take triple doubles for granted now, but you had like 47 points, 18 rebounds, and 12 assists in the game. How much pride did you take in being such a great overall player? And then also the fact you spent your entire 13-year playing career with the Suns. What does that mean? You don't see that loyalty anymore for someone playing with the same team for so long.
Well, luckily, start with the last part of the question. Luckily, it's happening with Devin Booker because we all love Devin Booker here in Phoenix. He's in his 11th year. So, yeah, pretty rare to see that long tenure these days with players. And what was the first part of the question you were asking?
Oh, just to be what's the key to being such a good overall player or good rebounder,
All the, well, I had good coaches in high school, and John McLeod was he was a teaching coach, I call him. People have asked me, "What do you mean by that?" I said, well, at the beginning of practice in training camp, we were practicing, not for long, two-hand chest passes, bounce passes, not behind the back passes. We weren't practicing Pete Maravich stuff. Now, once in a while, those happen in the game, and you didn't get in trouble if you did it, but we practiced the basics. The Mikan drill, if you remember what the Mikan drill, you shoot a right-handed little layup under the basket, a left-handed, a right-handed, left-handed, and you move out a few feet. I did that in high school, did that in the pros. We had really good teams in high school, and we moved the ball, we ran, and I was a big guy in high school, 6'9". There weren't anybody 7 feet. I remember in high school, and we were in the biggest class in Oklahoma, and so I was always fast. I never ran track or anything, but I was always lean, so that helped me be faster than a 6'9", 240-pound guy. I was whatever 190 in high school. So, and then that first summer when I got drafted, so Paul Westphal had just been traded for Charlie Scott, and the best part of that was Charlie was number 33. So when he left, I got 33. But the second best part of that was Westphal. And he came and played in, I always call it the rookie league. It was called the Summer Pro League in LA. So I would work out during the week in Phoenix, fly over on the weekend for, I think it was Friday, Saturday games. And here's a 3-year NBA champion veteran coming to play with the rookies from Phoenix and a few free agents. And he and I clicked immediately. He liked running down the court. I liked running down the court. He could pass. I could pass. Most importantly, he could catch even a bad pass from me, and I could catch even a bad pass from him. We both could shoot, and we just clicked right off the bat. And come training camp, he goes, "Hey, you want to room together?" I go, "Yeah." So he knew all the best places to eat when we went on the road. Great roommate, great teammate. I threw him the ball a lot. And he got in the Hall of Fame because I threw him all those passes.
It's trivia time.
I'm going to give you a 50-50 shot to get a trivia question right. A or B, true or false. Okay.
And then I have one for you.
Okay, good. I like that. I like that a lot.
Okay.
So here's your question. 1 year before you joined the Phoenix Suns, in 1974, there was a movie that came out. Not many people saw it. It was called Mixed Company, and it was about a basketball coach who's persuaded to adopt 3 more kids of different ethnic backgrounds. It's like sort of a Brady Bunch type thing. And here's your trivia question. The main character's job, because I said he was a basketball coach, was he was the head coach of the Phoenix Suns.
True.
It is true. The character was the head coach of the Phoenix Suns.
Wow. I've heard something about, I thought you were going to ask me about the Fish Who Saved Pittsburgh starring Connie Hawkins or something, but yeah, I remember hearing something about that. I wonder if any of it was filmed in Phoenix or if they used anybody. Who was the coach?
Well, the actor was Joseph Bologna, had a long career.
But that does ring a bell.
Yeah, but yeah, it was just interesting they picked the Phoenix Suns and why they picked the Phoenix Suns. But yeah, it's not often. You would think Lakers or, well, maybe they didn't want to have it as a big, city thing or whatever.
Well, some of those movies, they filmed a lot of movies in the old LA sports arena, just there on the south side of USC. So I've seen that gym show up. All right, so here's my trivia. Here's my trivia question. It's a trick question. I don't hurt your brains. I won't give you too long. Who are the only triplets to ever play together on the same team in the NBA?
Ooh.
All right, don't think any longer. I'll give you the team and the year.
Okay.
Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
76-77.
The Van Arsdale.
Not the Van Arsdale.
All right, don't hurt your brain. It was Dick Van, Tom Van, and Alvan. Because remember, I know you guys must know I spell my name A-L-V-A.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Tom
I need
know.
a rim shot there.
Well, Alvin, Mark's going to use that from now on.
I am going to use that.
Mark's going to use that on everybody now. So
I thought I was the only one that had bad puns, but you are the master.
Well, Tom and Dick didn't laugh the first time I told it to them, but they laughed after. So I was going to tell you, Scott, you started this off. I don't know if we're near the end or whatever. I got time, but you started off talking about the cover of Sports Illustrated. I might have to ask my wife here if I say it wrong, but just that picture of me screening out Dave Cowens on a free throw, it looks like. We bought a baby blanket once, right, Sarah? Was it for us or a friend? We bought a blanket that you would put. It was a throw that you like put on a sofa. It wasn't a baby blanket. Sorry. It was a throw and it had basketball players on it. And Sarah saw it somewhere and she bought it. And we bought it for a sofa in the family room or something. And when I fluffed it out, I looked at it. And it was two players. And the silhouette looked so familiar. It was the silhouette from that cover.
Oh my
Oh.
God.
This shadowy two black figures, and it was kind of pink and orange ruffles at one end, but she bought it just because it had a couple basketball players. She didn't notice it. She just saw it folded up in packaging. When I looked at the Sports Illustrated, I go, this is Dave Cowens and me. Got no money for that. Anyway.
Dang.
Too funny, and I love the fact that Sarah's like, no, it wasn't a baby blanket.
Yes.
Throw.
Yeah,
Come on.
right. Come on, man.
Well, it was only this big. So
You know, Alvin, I was sitting here thinking, and I was looking some of your stuff over. I'm sure you know this. All time, in terms of centers, you're fifth all time in assists for centers in the NBA. Where did you learn, and did it come easy to you passing and understanding where everyone's going to be? Because to be in that company of Bill Russell and Kareem and Nikola Jokic, you are obviously highly skilled passer.
Okay, well, thank you. I don't remember passing a lot in high school or college. I've got real good peripheral vision. I can see probably, I don't know, I've never been measured, probably 190 degrees. I can't read anything in front of me anymore, but okay, 190 degrees that way, great. The teams I played on were, I was the main guy from 8th grade all the way through college. And did I get double teamed a lot? I don't remember a lot of double teaming back in those days. Teams would stall. That's what they would do to try to beat us in high school. But then coming to the NBA, I quickly realized that, hey, everybody's really good. Everybody can shoot. I don't know. It was just, to me, it was a team game. Basketball was always a team game. Some games you look and it doesn't seem like a team game. But the teams playing at the end of the year in the NBA are really good teams. And the one thing I missed that I wish I would have gotten to do was shoot threes, because I would have been a three-point shooter. I think I shot 68 in my career. You probably got it in front of you, but not one of them was in the flow of any offensive set. It was get a defensive rebound, 2-1, heave it. I think it says I'm 2 for 68. I don't remember making one. So they've got me down for twice as many as I remember ever making. I made one from half court. So passing, I know, whatever. It was just part of one of the main components of basketball. And back in the old days, if someone's closer to the basket than you, then pass it to them. Now, if someone's farther than you from the basket, pass it to them.
Hey, Alvin, you mentioned Paul Westphal being your favorite teammate of all time. And you mentioned how much that team of 76, just the instant chemistry you guys had. Is that the hard part about 50 years later is having these relationships that you've fostered your whole life, and then you start to lose some of these people who are really close to you, and these memories, they go when they go.
Yeah, well, interestingly, Curtis Perry and Gar Heard, the forwards on that team, and put center, forward, they're back in Phoenix now, so we talk to them somewhat regularly. Our new owner, Matt Ishbia, he's really put an emphasis on getting the alumni back from wherever they are. Nevada, where Ricky Sobers is, or Pat Riley in Miami. The guys from that team, not just from that team, from any team. So the first game of the year, he invites any alumnus that wants to come back, any of the alumni to come back and be part of alumni night. And I think we had 3 games during the season where we got a couple of suites we got invited in. So on one hand, I'm seeing the old guys more than before because 2 of them are like back in town, but yet we've lost Dick Van, Paul Westphal. Who was the other one, Sarah? Somebody else. well, Phil Lumpkin and Nate Hawthorne.
John
are,
Shumate.
John Shumate, Al McCoy, John McLeod, Al Bianchi. Yeah. So on one hand, I'm seeing guys more than ever, but then we talk about, oh yeah, I remember this, that, but 50 years. Yeah, somebody, I was in Charlotte the other day visiting our son and his family for Grandparents' Day, and he was introducing me to somebody at the little tennis center where they belong. The guy goes, "You were Rookie of the Year? What year was that?" 76. He goes, 50 years ago. I go, yeah, half a century. Half a century. Yeah, yeah. How's the game changed? And I told him how the game's changed. And so half a century to me sounds longer than 50 years even. So,
Yeah, it does. It does.
We asked that all the time.
Glad I can remember some of it still.
Oh man, you're doing
great.
very well, Alvan. Can't thank you enough for joining us today on
Gotcha.
Star Prime. It was a real treat hearing you and your stories from that magical season in 76. 19 points, 9 rebounds, and you led the Suns all the way to the NBA Finals as a 21-year-old. Unbelievable. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today, Alvan.
All right, I'll close with a Pat Riley story. He joined the team early in the season. We picked him off of waivers or whatever it's called. And he was my next door locker mate. I remember the first road trip. He goes, "Alvan, he's married to Chris Riley. They're still married after all these years too." And he said, coming back from a road trip, he goes, you ought to bring flowers back to Sarah, because we were just newly married. So I always remember that's one of the things I remember specifically, because when you play 1,000 games, I think I played 1,000 games in my career, counting playoff. I don't remember many plays in any of the games, but I remember those little stories about Curtis and I wore the same Daishiki shirt on the plane trip back from Oakland after Game 7 to the airport, because we see pictures of us in this airport wearing these Jamaican shirts. How did I wear the same? Anyway, fun stuff. All right, well, good talking to you guys.
When we do the show, and we do it for one reason, to meet people like you. So thank you,
Yeah.
Alvan. Thank you so much.
Just fun, man.
Okay, good talking to you.
It's wonderful.
That's why we do this show, man.
Let's talk some golf. A beautiful beast, Mr. Jack Nicklaus, who spent years and a fortune building his dream tournament in Columbus, Ohio, then spent the entire week of it trimming trees, hanging pictures, and dispatching his wife, Barbara, on police escorts, leaving precious little time for, golf. And it showed, man. Jack designed this course, Bill, and my God, it was an impossible course.
Yeah, players joked it was more fun to have lunch with Dracula than to play on that course. The tournament, the Memorial, produced 40 rounds in the 80s and only 7 in the 60s, and a 78-79 score still made the cut. Just a really rough course.
By the way, I did have lunch with Dracula. I ordered steak.
Rare?
Egg with garlic on it, yeah.
But I was going to ask you, being the Dracula expert, Dracula
Yeah.
doesn't have lunch. He only has dinner.
He's people,
Well, he's on a liquid diet.
He doesn't even, I think he sleeps through lunch. Anyway.
Doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. Overnight leader Hubert Green was cruising along nicely until Saturday, when he shot a 79 that sent him into permanent hiding. Mark, the leaderboard was crazy. Some big names and celebrities showed up for this inaugural event in Ohio.
Sure, it was like some celebrities hit the road, like they were in a road picture. Bing Crosby and Bob Hope came. They had Bobby Jones's daughter-in-law and grandson, a whole bunch of executives. Man, this was a big deal. And to think about this is 50 years ago. Jack Nicklaus is still with us, and this tournament is still with us. And the course is still a major thing on Memorial Weekend.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Jack wasn't spared himself on his postcard pretty 12th hole. He hits 2 balls into the water, makes a quadruple bogey 7. So he basically went from golfer to being a host at that point. So, Bill, who ends up winning this thing?
What is it? What was I got it. I just thought about it. Give me the name.
Roger Maltby.
That's it, Maltby. That's right. Guy that one eventually would go into TV. But Nicklaus finished 8th in that season, but he came back to win the event in 77 and 84. So we ended up winning his own tournament eventually.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, Maltby. I tell you, that name I thought I'd remember.
And didn't Tiger win it a few times?
He did 3 times in a row from 99 to 2001 and again in 2012.
Wow,
He won a lot of stuff.
4
He
times.
sure did. Those were the years, man.
Yeah, that time from the time he won the Open, which I think was in '97. Man, he was the greatest thing to
And what
happen.
was that first Masters? He won like 60 strokes or whatever. I mean, honestly, it was so far. They was so far ahead. They'd go to break and be like, Tiger's, 24 under. The next guy up is not even close.
Yeah. Okay, we've got no kick coming. The Bicentennial Cup. Brazil came out firing at Seattle's Kingdom. 8 shots in the first 10 minutes alone, but their shooting was so wild and the American defense so committed that the barrage actually started to feel encouraging for Team America. But Bill, it shouldn't have. We were trying to get soccer kick-started here back in the States 50 years ago, and we're still trying.
Yeah, that was the goal to make soccer more popular in America. You got kickstart, I got goal. See, we're going there.
Yeah.
U.S. lost 3 matches. They were in none of them. They lost by a combined score of 9-1. Crazy enough, though, they played Brazil. I say that right. And the guy that was on the American team was pretty famous for that. Pelé suited up for Team America, but he couldn't help them win a game.
That's a ringer. They had a ringer then.
They did. Well, they wrung him out.
But U.S. soccer just wasn't the equivalent. I mean, now at least we're
No.
competitive. Back then, we just were a match for Europe
Yeah.
or Latin America.
Yep.
I still like calling him Pele.
Let's go with Pele. Let's just stick with that. Let's not be so, oh, Pele. He often did that again.
Are you English?
Well, that's how I hear people talk sometimes when they're huffy and puffy.
Rising to a weighty occasion. This is about Mark Cameron, and you would not think that this guy was that strong or a weightlifter, and yet he is both.
Yep. He's only 5'10", 240 pounds. So not an intimidating looking guy, but man, strong in that lower body strength. Whoa.
Yeah, the lightest and youngest American ever to clean and jerk over 500 pounds.
Bill.
I don't even know what that is, but
Stop.
I mean,
This is a family
if you don't say
podcast.
those correctly, it could come out wrong. You don't emphasize the second word.
I know you're into powerlifting, but come on.
Yeah.
No, but it is funny when you think of weightlifters, you think of like Vasily
The Alexei guy.
Alexiev,
Yes.
who had that big rotund belly, and
Yep.
this guy is looks like he's just some guy walking the dog.
It was like Ron Say.
Yeah, and but boy, he was he actually
He
was
won
pretty
9
good.
national titles. He competed in the Olympics in '76. He also made it in 1980, but they boycotted, so he couldn't obviously participate. But Mark Cameron, known as the strongest man in the world, in the free world, sorry.
That is crazy. Good for him. Next up, the lip who is split. Now, I don't know how you go about having an article on John Montefiusco, and that is your title, the headline, because you got to have the count in there. As soon as you say the count, you're talking either Sesame Street or you're talking about John the Count Montefiusco, one of the most electric personalities in baseball from back in the day. He had a dangerous fastball. People were lining up to see him. There was one game against the Dodgers, 3,500 tickets were sold to the game. Woo! But by the time the game was starting, they had almost 16,000. He had a 2.22 ERA on a team that was 11 games below 500. The Count was a big name for the Giants back in the day.
I mean, Gad, he was dominant, man. I'm telling you, in 1975 and 76. Oh my God. One of the best pitchers in all of baseball, and then kind of like the wheels fell off after that. But man, those 2 years, I mean, especially those years with the Giants, like were really special. All-Star in 76, Rookie of the Year in 75. I mean, Bill, talk about his numbers those first 2 years compared to his career. That was incredible.
Yeah, he won 52 games in his first 5 seasons, and he played 13 years. So you're thinking maybe 150, possibly 200 wins. No, he only had 90 wins overall during his entire career. I think he ended in the bullpen with the Yankees, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Right. But
to New York.
And then in 76, he also threw a no-hitter against the
Yeah.
Giants, too.
But the thing is, Scott, going back to what you said, 16,000 people.
Yeah.
Angels, a lot of teams don't play that well, and they get 50,000 people. But John Montefusco now would be a guy people would come out to see, and there'd be people lining up to get in the stadiums.
Yeah, for sure. He was a quiet guy, like off the field. He was very similar in some ways to Mark the Bird Fidrich. He was at this persona as a pitcher, but away from the game, he was not the same. And then Mark, after his playing days ended, yikes.
Oh my God. Well, he had a temper. I mean, he got into a fight, with his manager. I think Giants manager Dave Bristol in 1980, after winning a game. So, he had anger issues, but there's this wonderful picture of him and his wife and their dog. And then you start reading about, later in life, in 1997, he was arrested and charged with beating that wife who had been married to for 23 years, Dolores, or Dory, as they call her in the article. And, he was on bail. He had, for sexual assault, making terrorist threats. He was indicted and held on bail, and then he was released after serving 2 years behind bar. And this is so his wife is doing an interview on ESPN. I believe it was in 2000, and he likened her husband to O.J. Simpson. That's all you need to say. So.
Not.
But they look so
what a nice
friendly
comment.
in this one. Yeah, they look so friendly here in the picture,
Well, it would have
He's
been
looking
weird
good.
if he had been like, if the photographer had been like, all right, now let me get a shot of you smacking her.
Yeah, I mean, that would just not be
Back in
right.
the 70s, though, that might have gone over.
Yeah.
But I'm saying but she even said, Mark, she said, when he's at home, he's just John. She goes, but when he gets out on the mound, he becomes the Count that I don't even recognize. Well, the Count actually became what he was off the mound.
Yeah.
Right.
More
right.
like
Jekyll and Hyde, right?
Look at that.
Yeah.
And I know the nickname's not based off of Count Dracula, but out of the not famous novel, The Count of Monte Cristo, which has been made into a movie 3,475 times.
Yeah.
But great novel, great concept for a book. And
Yeah, I'm
and
reading
then,
that right now.
Are you? Yeah, it's all about revenge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Revenge and yoga in prison. TV radio, and this is about a woman that broke into TV horse racing coverage the old-fashioned way. Bill, what's her name and how did she get it?
Charles C. Canty. And she got her name because her father had hoped for a son that they were going to name him Charles. So they figured, well, we have a daughter, so let's just go with Charles C. Not sure how you got the Charles C. Maybe it was supposed to be Charles Oscar. So maybe Charles C. somewhere in there. I don't know. That's what the name he wanted. But he wanted a boy.
She had quite a career. She's been working in television for like 50 years now. WOR TV, Gamble paid off, drawing 300,000 weekly viewers to Racing from Belmont, and with the networks already calling the racing forms daily handicapping language, they said it best about her. This is how they would describe horses back in the day, but this is how they described Charles C. when she broke in, working steadily, due for improvement, has the credentials, rates attention, and can handle this field. So she had a long career in horse racing, but she also didn't she spend some time doing football?
She did. In 1984, she replaced Phyllis George during her maternity leave. So Charles C. Canty was everywhere. That's one. I had heard of Phyllis George, obviously. Charles C. Canty, I'd heard of her when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That's one of those names. But yeah, she's still everywhere.
A tiger burning bright. All right, Bill, you and I can
Here we go.
this one out. Right?
Let Mark go at it.
I see no reason. I really actually see no reason for us to even talk about this. So let's just move on, shall we?
Okay.
Bill, what you got?
Well, first of all, it's all about Ron LaFleur and his hitting streak, and he's got his hitting streak up to 30 games. Okay, and that is the longest streak in baseball at the time. I think since I think it was 27 years. And the streak would go, I think, one more game. I think it ended after 31. But he was batting like over 400 during the streak. His batting average was up to 390. I mean, before was the Tigers' leadoff hitter. He was their outfielder, speed guy. I mean, he gambled a lot, so sometimes he'd run himself out of innings or make mental mistakes and stuff like that. But his immense talent and then his background story, being discovered in prison, whether it was by Billy Martin or not, but just an incredible story. And eventually he would leave the Tigers and go to the Montreal Expos and have some big years with the Expos. But he was an all-star, for the Tigers when the Tigers weren't very good.
He has the 30-game hitting streak, but the story is remarkable because he keeps hitting through all sorts of things. His brother dies, his girlfriend has a child, his father's in the hospital, so he's able to keep concentrating on what's going on in the field. And then even when the streak ends, he's going up against the Yankees, and they call for a fastball to kind of let him get a shot in his last at bat, and he takes a called third strike, and that's how the streak comes to an end. So,
and he's still with us, 77 years old, still with us.
Get him as a guest.
Yeah.
Right. Elsewhere, the player of the week, Ken Brett, brother of George Brett, who we'll have on the show in 2 weeks. The White Sox left-hander acquired from the Yankees 2 weeks ago was within 1 out of a no-hitter when Jerry Remy of California scratches out an infield single, but Brett goes on to win 1-0 in 11 innings. He was a great pitcher, a great hitter, and his brother George will be our guest 2 weeks from now on Past Our Prime. And George gives a lot of credit to his brothers and Ken in particular for his success in baseball. So Ken Brett, he could do it. He was the Shohei before Shohei, guys.
He was. That would have been a great thing to find out. But Ken Brett, he could handle the bat. He
Yeah,
could do
sure.
pretty much anything.
Yeah,
he was a good hitting pitcher.
He was good at the way George spoke and reading about it. He said Ken Brett his brother could do anything, could play any sport. He was just dominant. And I think during the interview, a little bit to give a little bit away, that there was a time when George wanted to quit. And Ken was saying, "You're not going anywhere."
that's
So
right.
he really looked up to him. Died way too young.
Yeah, that's right. That's a
I
great.
remember with the Angels for a quarter of a year.
Mark, how about Campy Campaneris?
Oh man, Scott is the A's fan, but Campy Campaneris was one of my favorite players. I thought he was so great. Even though his name was Bert, everyone called him Campy. He was so fast. He steals 5 bases in a game, which is one shy of the modern league record that Eddie Collins had set in 1912. You remember that, right before he got on the Titanic?
Yeah.
But anyway, Campaneris had 5 steals in that game to lead him to the win.
Last week we had Steve Lyons on, and he's famous for a few things. One of them was that he played all 9 positions in an exhibition game against the Cubs back in the day. But Campy was the first player to play all 9 positions in a single game. He did it September 8th, 1965. So, and I remember the reason that I remember this is when Will Ferrell came to do his little bit with Major League Baseball and played all 9 positions for 9 different teams back in spring training. Oh, that's got to be 10 years ago now. And he started his day at the A's training camp. And I have a bunch of pictures of him and Campy sitting in the stands talking about how to play each position. So Will Ferrell and Campy and together, that was a great night. Bill, Mark mentioned that A's team, boy, they ran and ran, and then they ran some more.
They were running wild on the bases. They stole 100 bases in just 43 games. That would put them on pace for 377 steals. Now, the league record is 291. The major league high is 347. That's by the 1911 San Francisco Giants. The A's finished with 341 stolen bases, just 6 off the major league record.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I think looking at it, every guy stole bases. And obviously, if Campy's getting 5 in one game, not bad there.
Yeah. Just a different style of baseball, that's for sure.
I wish they'd bring that back a little bit.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
That hit and runs and stuff like that.
Now we're going to go from the obvious segue from Campy Campaneris to catapulting.
Oh, yeah. One of our favorites. Well, this is just about Mary Hyde. Mary Hyde, she had a trebuchet, if I'm speaking that right. But whatever it does, she hurled a 10-pound rock 779 feet. Sounds pretty impressive to all of us. I think none of us are throwing rocks around, but that's pretty far. But you know what? Those throws, they qualified as world records. However, Guinness declined to recognize them because the activity was considered way too dangerous. But good job for Mary Hyde.
Absolutely. And you, like we were talking beforehand, you can see why Guinness would do that because, people want to break records. And the next thing you know, they start really doing dangerous things
Yeah.
that's not really what, although, I think, so I guess, like diving to depths of, below and above the ocean,
Yeah.
if you're diving from 90 feet high, the next guy wants to go 100 feet high.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's the same with people that are doing that. They go down in the water and they hold their breath.
Exactly.
I'm going down 300 feet.
Yeah.
And
Well,
someone else says, I'll go 301.
I'm dead.
And you're dead.
And you're dead.
I don't know. This all
I went
sounds like
diving and I'm dead.
this all sounds like the precursor to Jackass. I'm going to
Yeah.
get on a catapult to go flying.
Yes, I probably did do that. I've never watched the show or the movies.
And down the stretch they
He's
come.
free but not cheap. One of my favorites from back in the day, John Riggins, a 230-pound fullback, former Mohawk wearing, current three-piece suit enthusiast. He hit the free agent market after rushing for just barely over 1,000 yards with those 3-10 Lou Holtz led Jets. And now he's a free agent. And Bill, Riggle was not paid what he thought he should have been by those Jets.
Well, no, I mean, there's a big discrepancy here. The Jets are paying Joe Namath $450,000 a year, obviously, but Riggins only made $67,500. I think you can get it a little more than that, which is why he left.
Yeah, think of that. Namath is making almost 7 times more than he was
Yeah.
making. He responded to a strong 944-yard season by telling Riggins he hadn't hit 1,000 yards and offered him a 10% pay cut. I mean, think of that. We don't even deal with pay cuts anymore. So he's a free agent and he visits 5 teams: the Rams, the Saints, the Oilers, the Vikings, and the Redskins. He meets with George Allen publicly, claiming he'd never even spoken to Riggins on the same day that Riggins was sitting across from Allen at dinner, having been mistaken for his own lawyer. So George Allen and Riggins didn't even know each other, but he ends up going to Washington, Mark, and he has quite a career with the Redskins.
Yeah, but speaking about that dinner, he also said, I don't think the guy meant it as a compliment when he said I look like his lawyer. But to him, to Riggins, that was the nicest thing anyone had ever said about me. Because remember, he's Mr. Toupee. I mean,
Yeah.
Mr. Mohawk.
Right.
But anyway, he had his best years of his career ended up kind of being with the Redskins, 10 years with the Redskins. There was a strike in 1982, so they only played 8 games, but he still rushed for 553 yards. And then in the playoffs, he just went off, and in the Super Bowl, he single-handedly, dominated the Dolphins, and I was the Super Bowl MVP that year.
Yep.
And then the following 2 seasons, he rushed for over 1,300 yards and over 1,200 yards. So some of his best years were with the Redskins, and he's kind of like a Larry Zonka, where he just basically would bowl you over. He would inflict pain on you if you tried to tackle him.
Yeah, it's surprising that there's not a call for those kind of guys anymore. I mean, you would think that, linebackers, I know they're much bigger. Everyone's much bigger, but the linebackers and safeties and stuff, like you see a Riggins coming, you're like, oh God, I do not want to tackle this guy.
Especially after 3 quarters.
Yeah, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, one of his most famous moments came off the football field. We were talking about this last night. Washington Redskins running back John Riggins and Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor had a famous, memorable encounter at a 1985 formal dinner in Washington, D.C. How should I put it? An inebriated Riggins urged O'Connor to loosen up, Sandy baby, you're too tight, before passing out on the floor and sleeping through a speech by then Vice President George H.W. Bush. So he said he said that he meant it in a like, hey, we're all having fun, stay a while way. And she took it in great stride. In fact, she went on to make T-shirts for her aerobics class that said "Loosen up at the Supreme Court," And her and Riggins had a few encounters over the years. They actually became kind of friendly. So he was a character on and off the field, no doubt. Let's wrap this thing up, shall we? For the record, Mark.
For the record, what really caught my eye was that the Philadelphia 76ers are being sold. And you know how much money they're being sold for? Oh my
Pocket
God.
change.
No, man, this is just an incredible amount of money. How can $7 million, which even in 1976, this seems pretty reasonable buy. 7 million. You know, on a basketball team today, the backup point guard makes $7 million. The third string point guard might make $7 million. The entire Philadelphia 76ers franchise is sold for $7 million.
They are now valued at $6.1 billion.
Oh my golly.
Yep.
That's a
So
pretty
when I
good
come
one.
up to you guys with an investment scheme for 7 million, you don't poo-poo it, okay? Even if we don't have the money to raise, we rob a bank, we do whatever it takes.
Yeah,
But
keyword there being scheme.
Yes.
Billy, tell
Oh,
me
God.
about an NHL trade.
Yeah, it's one of those trades maybe one team would like to rethink. But the Rangers traded 22-year-old Rick Middleton to the Bruins for 32-year-old Ken Hodge. Hodge played basically a season and a half. He scored 68 points over 96 games. Middleton had 898 points over 12 years, including 402 goals.
That sounds
Wow.
fair to me.
Yeah.
I don't get your point. It's a fair
So,
trade.
so advantage Bruins.
Just by a hair. Just by a hair. Hey, I mean, Ken Hodge, unfortunately he couldn't take those the stats he had with the Bruins to the Rangers.
Right.
That's just one of those deals, boy. I mean, almost like, what are you thinking?
Right.
I mean, it's 10 years. You traded a 22-year-old for a 32-year-old. Not saying that's bad. That could sometimes work out, but in this position, no, it didn't.
Real people, real stories. Faces in the crowd.
Faces in the crowd. Chess, anyone? Mark?
Oh, yes. Rick Kaner, 17 years old. He's a senior at Two Rivers, Wisconsin High. He wins the national chess championship over University High School of Los Angeles, Uni High. But anyway, back to Rick Kaner, who is the chess guy. And in an article not that long ago, Kaner, who's now a professor of chemistry and material science and engineering at UCLA, was talking about his head coaches, which was kind of weird when you think about chess having a head coach, like, pacing the sidelines.
Yeah.
No, you don't
Time
put that
out!
pawn there. What are you doing? But but he was talking about his coach, Warren Otto, who had passed away very fondly as being the driving force behind all the championships and stuff like that. But I just think it's so funny how you coach chess. Do you have like a group meeting before the game? Okay, guys, get in together, okay? All right. Remember, king to rook 7 when you start, okay?
Yeah.
So
I would never. Maybe an advisor would be better than a coach, but anyway.
Advisor
could they
just sounds
sub you
more
in?
important.
Say
I'm
again?
bringing.
Advisor just sounds more important.
Yeah.
It does.
Like you're
But
bringing
if
in
you-
Scott as the coach. We're bringing in Scott Johnston as the advisor. Ooh, really? He's good.
Pull up a chair, pour one more. The 19th hole is open for law.
19th hole, Billy. Anyone ticked off this week?
Oh, just Dan Katow. He's pretty much had enough. He says in his article on the Preakness, William Leggett leaves the reader with the impression that Elocutionist was written by owner Gene Cashman by remote control. The unmentioned jockey was John Lively, the leading rider at the Omaha track that is backward only in its name, Axarben. Dan Katow.
Easy for you to say.
Right.
Yes.
Man.
Yes.
My guy's not as ticked off as yours, but still, he says the Philadelphia Flyers won the Stanley Cup the past 2 years, yet there was no SI cover of them at the time of either championship victory. Montreal wins this year, and presto, you have a full color cover of Larry Robinson making a Philadelphia player look bad. George M. Ocklock, and guess where he's from?
Philadelphia.
Yes.
What a shock.
Who knew?
Right? Hey, Billy, tell people where they can follow us.
Okay. TikTok, Instagram, 50 Past Our Prime. On YouTube, we're Past Our Prime SI. Facebook, we're Past Our Prime 50. And Twitter, Past Our Prime 50. Both of them. Twitter, Facebook, Past Our Prime 50. Well, you can get us anywhere, but no matter where you go, please just download the episode. You don't have to listen for 20 minutes. I think you'll like it if you do, but just download it. That'll help us get more subscribers, and we can keep giving you great stuff that we do each and every time we come on.
Yeah, subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. Mark, next week on the cover,
Dwight Stones, the high jumping legend, and he's on the cover. So we will take a leap into the world of track and field and see how high we can get.
there we
talk
go.
about Dwight Stones.
Nice,
Yes.
nice.
Yeah, Mark got the poll on that one.
Want to thank 1976 NBA Rookie of the Year, Alvan Adams, for coming on the show and talking to us about that wonderful first season he had that ended in the NBA Finals when he and the Suns took on the Celtics and lost in a classic NBA Finals series in 6 games, one of the best 6-game series in NBA Finals history. So thank you, Alvan. Until next week, for Mark and for Bill, I'm Scott, and we are Past Our Prime.